Uddhav Thackeray, Honorable Minister for Tourism, Environment and Protocol, Government of Maharashtra. Can we have a huge round of applause, please? I would also like to welcome Mr. Ninad Karpe, past Chairman CII Western Region and partner 100X VC. The session will be moderated by Mr. Ninad Karpe.
Thank you. Thank you. We have half an hour with the minister. So, Aditya Thackeray, Honorable Minister, Tourism, Environment and Protocol, Government of Maharashtra, seniors, past chairs, ladies and gentlemen. I'm truly delighted to have him here. I don't know whether to call him Mr. Thackeray, Aditya Thackeray. Aditya is good, he's saying. When I told my elder son, Sahil, that I'm going to be on a fireside chat with him, he said, firstly, Dad, there's no fireside. And number two, I should be there because actually he happens to be my son's school friend. So unfortunately for him, I am here. So next 30 minutes, I will try and get as much discussion going. What we are going to do is first 15 minutes, we will have some questions. And next 10 minutes, we'll have some round of Q&A. But in the interest of time, we will not have people raising hands. There are people with slips over here from CII. Whatever questions you have, please give it to them in the first 10-15 minutes. They will check the questions and then they'll give it to me so that we can have much more time for discussion. He is going to leave by 1:35, so half an hour. I want to maximize my time with him. So let me ask with a very general question before I come to the tough ones. And I'm sure you will be able to handle tough questions.
If there are tough questions, there is fire, you mean?
So you're used to a much bigger, tougher situations. What is your grand vision of Maharashtra? Simple, straight question. What is your vision?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me here this afternoon and asking me to hop over from Vidhan Bhavan because it's really a pleasure to be here and for an audience that's actually listening. So that is one thing. But I think the grand vision of Maharashtra is, especially right now, in this year, we're completing 60 years of the formation of the state of Maharashtra. And Maharashtra, of course, if you compare it to any other country in the world, our GDP, our population, our size, obviously we rank in the top 40 around the world, had we been a country. Normally, I see our country as the EU, largely, with different states contributing to the GDP. We contribute about 47%. We, as a state, again, have different divisions of revenue. We have different regions, religions, languages, cultures thriving in our own Maharashtra and professions. We've been a thought leader before independence. We've been a thought leader after independence. The fact that all of you, most of you live in Mumbai and Maharashtra is a thing of being proud for us as a government and a state. It's a matter of pride. But we have to balance all sections of society. You have farmers, you have industrialists, you have students, you have women, you've got sections of society that really never got an opportunity to equal opportunity and equal access. So I believe that when we're looking at the grand vision of Maharashtra, listening to everyone first, consulting with those staying in Maharashtra, and then taking the state ahead is what I firmly believe in, because finally, without consultations, without dialogues, without agreements and disagreements, the state won't move further. Maharashtra has always had a cultural legacy of discussions, of debates, of talking points, and then moving ahead. Of course, industry, environment, tourism, all of these departments, now we're giving a boost to each and everyone with flagship programs. But finally, the grand vision is when every person feels that, okay, I am heard in my state, I am free to think and speak what I can speak. I have the liberty to go to any college of my choice, any school of my choice, get the best of education, get the best of healthcare, have the best in my profession, be it farming or be it any industry. I think that is the grand vision of Maharashtra.
Wow, amazing. Give a big round of applause.
Sorry, I'll just take one more minute. It's just that what I believe personally is vision doesn't come from one person. You can't have a unilateral vision. Vision has to be a collection of thoughts, a collection of ideas. I think that is vision, because if I say that the government is pushing forward this vision, what use are all of you in this room? All of you have become industry leaders with your own vision. So we have to take ideas from all of you and move ahead.
Great. It's refreshing to hear about consultation and listening to views. My next question is about FDI. You're sitting with a group of business people, so my slant will be more towards business, less towards.
Do you want me to slant towards environment or business?
I'll come to that. I'll come to business environment as well. So, business.
Both go hand in hand, so.
So, foreign direct investment is one thing which is always monitored by everyone, and Maharashtra has always been on the top. What is it required to ensure that we remain on the top? Are we complacent that we are number one? Are we competing with others? Like you always hear Telangana, the states having better, investment attractiveness. What is it required so that even 2 years from now, 4 years from now, when I sit with you, we still remain number one?
The same government. At the state. I can't talk about the center. No, but keeping politics aside and keeping seriousness and jokes aside, I think primarily what we believe in is basically industry has to be safeguarded. Because if you see right from the beginning, even in our government from 95 to 99, you had a lot of companies from abroad coming and settling out here, starting off with all the IT sector that we started off in Hinjewadi. And that was the time after Mumbai-Pune Expressway, which was ideated by my grandfather. You saw a lot of IT industry coming to Hinjewadi. And then in the next few years, we missed out on that revolution of industries. We missed out on the IT revolution back then. But again, the basis of any FDI coming here or even local business people being happy is two things. One is infrastructure. What are we offering to you as a state? And two, how is the environment for business? Infrastructure-wise, right now we have been focusing a lot on the roads. We've been focusing also on airport connectivity. For example, Kolhapur will have more parking bays and the extension of the runway plus the extension of the terminal very soon. The Chief Minister has just day before yesterday chaired that meeting. Likewise, Shirdi will have a night airport. A lot of air connectivity is something we are really focused on. The other is road connectivity. Of course, national highways, state highways, the work is going on. How do we expedite it is a matter of concern, and that is what we're looking into. Business environment-wise, of course, there are local issues that are faced by a lot of companies locally, be it from local, the people staying around this industry or from unions and stuff like that. It is our job as governments to be enablers. Because when we speak about business environment, I speak in two things. One is road and transport infrastructure, but the other is how are the MIDCs that we are providing to you? What is the electricity rate? How are we providing water to you? For example, the Auric city that's coming up near Aurangabad, Sambhajinagar. I think that is a marvel by itself. I don't know how many of you have visited it. But that is something where the concept of walk to work, a township, plus an industry with all environmental standards being followed and norms being followed is coming up. I think along with that, you have aerial connectivity, road connectivity, something like that. And two, the safety and security of those doing business and industries out here. So these are our priorities to build the trust. Along with FDI, of course, there are some direct investments. And for example, Germany has about 800 companies working in Maharashtra. Sweden has about 97 industries in Maharashtra. No one would imagine a country like Sweden to have it's updated to 107. 107 companies in Maharashtra. As a minister of protocol, earlier protocol ministry was actually taken to be as a sideline ministry. You want to punish a minister, not take him out of cabinet, but give him a ministry, it was the protocol ministry. I asked for this ministry purposely because no one really realized, and probably I haven't fully realized too, but the full potential of this ministry is that this could be the MEA, the Ministry of External Affairs for Maharashtra. Last week, in this hotel itself, there was a meeting of the Consular Corps. All the consular missions in Mumbai, about 120 of them, I met them. And my message to them, or my request to them was, come to Maharashtra. Maharashtra is open, Maharashtra is safe. You look at the other states and what is happening, be it Delhi, be it any other state in India right now, and look at Maharashtra, where today is safe to speak our minds. We are an open state, we are welcoming people. If there's any issue that you have with any department, my department is now ready to tackle with that issue and be the nodal officer or the nodal department to tackle all these issues with, be it FDI, be it industries, be it whatever, coming from outside into Maharashtra. We are here to make you comfortable, and that was the message.
We are here to make you comfortable. Wonderful. I think it's great to hear these words. Yes, give him a round of applause. You've said all the correct things which like to listen, enablers, infrastructure. Let me come to tourism, because you're a minister and now this is something which is your responsibility. Maharashtra has everything for a tourist. You talk about beaches, you talk about heritage sites, wildlife. Why is it that we still get the number of tourist arrivals in Maharashtra are lesser than a city-state like Singapore or even Paris. And interestingly, just as a kind of feedback, probably we need to have a better digital footprint also of the tourism ministry. So what are you planning? I'm sure you've just taken it over, but what are your plans to change all this?
So the first plan is to actually start implementing a couple of things across the state. Till now, again, like all the three ministries, like all the ones I have, tourism, protocol, and environment, were the ministries which were on the side. And again, tourism is something which has a huge potential in Maharashtra and across the world. You look at any other country in the world, be it New Zealand, they pitch New Zealand tourism to you. You go to the United Kingdom, a village called Stratford-upon-Avon. I don't know how many of you all have visited that, but Shakespeare's home, which is half the size of this hall, is promoted to the world, and you have 10 lakh people visiting that village every single day. And this was 10 years ago when I visited it, so I don't know how many people are going now, but then you have souvenir shops, you have a whole local economy thriving on that one small house. And, on the belief that Shakespeare might have lived here. Now, for Maharashtra, if you see, the very name itself, Maharashtra, great nation. And if you compare it to our country, everything that India has, be it the hills, the mountains, the beaches, the rivers, the plains, the floodplains, everything apart from the Thar Desert exists in Maharashtra. And yet we've never promoted it. If you look at Maharashtra in different verticals of tourism, of course you have ecotourism, you have Tadoba, which is actually one of the best sanctuaries to go for right now for tiger sighting. You've got health tourism, which I'm also trying to make not just curative, but preventive, where you can have spas about, say, Ayurveda, about yoga, so things like that. You have mountain tourism, you have trekking and hikers, you have forts, you have history, you have spiritual tourism, you have the beaches. But we've really never explored these factors of Maharashtra. To start off with, what we are doing right now in the next few days is we're not creating newer sites than we have already. We have 5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The other states have 3 each. We can add 3 more. We can apply for 3 more. The thing is, we need to only rejuvenate and market to the world and show to the world what we have today with us. Whilst we do that, we of course have to look at the accessibility of these sites, the amenities there, the affordability there, the experience that you get. So these are the factors we're really focusing on what we have. For example, we have the Elephanta Caves just across the sea here. We have the Gateway of India. We have Kanheri Caves. We have the Gilbert Hill. Now, Gilbert Hill, I don't know if most of us know, but it's 600 million years old, and it's in Andheri. It stands out from a slum area. The only other comparable rock like that is the Devil's Rock in Utah, and they've marketed it, and we've never sold our Gilbert Hill to anyone. I mean, we would have probably sold it for real estate or something, but we've never sold it to the world as tourism. So, we need to look at this. For example, Ajanta and Ellora, you have tourists from Japan, tourists from China, tourists from Thailand, tourists from Bhutan coming in for Buddhism there. And how many of us have been there? The Kailash temple. It's a rock-cut temple which is created from the top, not from the bottom. Now that's a wonder of the world, but we've never seen it in that light. How do we create access to that? How do we create connectivity to that? That is my primary focus. So be it Mumbai and be it every district in Maharashtra. For example, if you go down to Ratnagiri, Sindhudurga, or even Raigad, coastal tourism, we have blue water, we have white sand beaches. Why haven't we ever thought of bringing in a beach sack policy? We're bringing that next month. We've never thought of opening up our MTDC places, our resort and our lands, which are really the most beautiful properties across Maharashtra. Why haven't we done tie-ups with hotels and 5-star hotels and resorts when we have travelers who come in here? Because the types of travelers we receive in Mumbai or Maharashtra are 2 types. One is the business traveler who comes in for 36 hours typically and flies out, like President Donald Trump. And 2, a lot came from that visit, but from business travelers, they do their business and move out. What are we coming to if we're earning something as an economy? And 2, we have tourists who come to India for about 23 to 25 days, but they spend only 3 days in Mumbai and not going beyond any circuit out here. So just as a couple of quick wins, we're opening up the BMC headquarters, which is a beautiful building to tourists. We are creating and starting very soon a ceremonial drill by the Mumbai police at the DG headquarters, so that something like Buckingham Palace, you have a change of guard. Our ceremony is actually one of the most colorful ceremonies, a beautiful drill. We've never shown it to the world. The Gateway of India, we're actually, as Mumbai, the gateway to India. But we've never realized that. And if we start realizing the potential tourism has, the entire state can have a parallel economy in tourism.
Wow. So accessibility to, yes? If you feel like applauding, do it. Don't just hesitate. I'm going to ask two questions quickly, and then I'm sure I'll get this audience question. So if you have a question, please give it in writing. We are just trying to maximize on the time available. I want to ask you about startups, Aditya. Sorry, Minister Aditya, whatever I call you. Startups is nowadays considered as hope, optimism. You know, young girls and boys want to do it. We do have a startup policy. We do have a Maharashtra Innovation Society, but somehow Kerala has been far more successful in the way it has. Are you relooking at it? Is your government
No,
thinking?
so our priority has been startups because what I realize is we have a lot of industrial estates in Maharashtra, in Mumbai especially. We cannot bring the mills back, we cannot bring the factories back into Mumbai, but what can create jobs are two things. One is the service sector, which is why I've brought in Mumbai 24/7. For example, London has a nighttime economy of 20 billion pounds from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. Likewise, startup is one thing where a lot of youth is coming ahead, they're trying to do something innovative. We should look at that. 3 years ago, as the BMC, we had created policy, but the state didn't have a policy, so we are holding up till the state made a policy. Now that we have a policy, of course, the priority would be to create these startup hubs in cities like Mumbai, Navi Mumbai, Thane, Nasik, to move further, because again, to give the youth a chance to question set norms, to innovate is something what I'm looking for. And of course, again, as local municipal corporations, if they have startup hubs, the focus would be urban town planning solutions or something that help lifestyle changes and rural areas and urban areas in Maharashtra. So that is where we're really looking at.
So I'll ask you a last question, and then we will have these questions. So this is a business community. Environment is your ministry. What is the message you want to give them about climate change, environment? What is you doing?
I think
Quick
everyone
message to them.
realizes that climate change is here because it's no longer that climate change is 50 years away or it's only an Arctic region or Antarctica. It is here. The fact that we have erratic winter, we have monsoons where we have no rainfall for a month, and then we have 485 mm of rain in 3 hours on a particular day like 29 June. We all realize that climate change is here. Now, there are two things we can do about climate change. One is mitigate climate change, which has to be at a global level, and the other is adapt to climate change, which we as governments, local self-governments, industries, individuals are doing on our own level. The message to everyone has been very, very clear in the past few days. Whoever's following the norms, we're giving them full support to follow the norms, grow the industry, move ahead with that. Whoever's not following the norms of pollution control, we're getting a little hard on them because I think it's essential and it's unfair on the others if there are a few industries who are not following the norms. So we're trying to make them follow the norms and toe the line. But it's very important, even as politicians, because I've brought up this discussion about air pollution or water pollution or, groundwater runoff. Because finally today as politicians, all our manifestos promise Wi-Fi hotspots. And if you go to a couple of states in India, and I hope that the time doesn't come on to us, we shouldn't be promising oxygen hotspots in the next 5 years. So I think that is the fear. So climate change is here, and I think we need to accept the fact that it is here. What are we doing to tackle it or live with it is the question.
Okay, what are we doing to tackle it? So that easy part is over. Now the tough part starts.
Right.
Questions from the audience. Dr. Sangeeta Pandit, she's right there. She's in academia. Question is, what are you doing to ensure that academia is involved in the decision-making of growth story of Maharashtra? How do you include them?
Yes, but different levels of academia, right? The teachers, the principals, the professors, the students, all of that. I think the whole, and then you also have thought leaders. I think I look at everyone as academia because everyone is trying to learn from each other. Like I said, the first thing we need to do, and as a minister I start off with, is consultations. Because without consultations, we're not moving anywhere because there will always be different perspectives, different thoughts coming in. If we have to move ahead, we have to start questioning set norms, and that will only come from academics. Are we really encouraging academics to, and the academia to question set norms, innovate, break boundaries, question the leaders? That is where we really need to start off with.
Question the leaders. Rishi Bagla is right here. He is from Aurangabad and strongly. What is your tourism policy for Aurangabad? Are you going to do something? Can you get
So
a white
I have
paper?
a dual policy for Aurangabad. The first thing is, of course, for the last many years we've been trying to improve the city. Now that we have the state government with us, we are backing each and every city and every rural area strongly with every practical support they need. And right now we've sanctioned 150 crores for the roads of Aurangabad, which is, I think, a priority for us. Along with that, we're not just looking at roads, but we're looking at wall-to-wall development and aesthetics. So footpaths, pedestrian refuge areas, dividers, solid waste management and the roads along with that, and overhead wires to go off. So that is my priority. Along with that, that whole region actually is a beautiful circuit of tourism. You have all the tourism sites in the city. You have Ajanta Ellora. The road is really bad, so we're getting to repair on that. And from there, you have a triangle of spiritual tourism as well. You have Shegaon, you have Shirdi, and you have Nagar. So you have Shegaon of Gajanan Maharaj, you have Shani Shingnapur also, you have Shirdi of Sai Baba, and you have Nagar for Meher Baba. So I think, again, like I said, aerial connectivity and the information going out to the world and the right kind of, I wouldn't say marketing or exploiting that audience, but just pitching it to them saying this is where your roots are. The whole of the Far East would actually come down to that city to see what the legacy or the tradition is or culture is.
So maybe Aurangabad zone could present a paper to the minister, and so he'll do that. So next question is from Nikita.
And Auric City is coming up there. So.
Auric City, yeah.
So I've suggested, yeah, exactly. And for Auric, I've suggested a couple of things. For example, there is walk to work, but I've suggested urban forest there because you'll have a lot of industries coming in there. And the other is that's probably one of the only cities in Maharashtra currently coming up where you have no illegal encroachments. So there are no illegal pipeline connections. So you could have potable water in your taps. So that is what we're trying to achieve there.
So the next question is from Nikita. She is a startup woman entrepreneur from Maharashtra. She's saying what steps the government of Maharashtra is taking for tech startups, especially for women entrepreneurs. How are you going to promote women entrepreneurs? Correct? Yeah.
So again, like I've always said, and yesterday also I had made a comment because I've always believed that women are the ones who've led Maharashtra. Be it Savitribai Phule, be it so many doctors who had, started off from Maharashtra, the education thing. You have to see entrepreneurship and women in one light because the strength they have, in the capacities they have of either playing a sport and balancing a family and friend circle, managing a profession and balancing a family is something we men don't really have as well. So obviously there are some things I really want to do in my constituency, which is for the youth to start off with, for innovators who are under 35, and then probably, also try to have something for women. But that'll be definitely on my mind. I'll be very honest with you. I don't have a concrete plan right now. If you have something, please give it to me.
Good. So, women have been on your mind. We have seen her Twitter yesterday.
Yes.
So, Pramod Shinde has a question. He's asking, how do you see the Maharashtra recycling policy minimize pollution, minimize help employment? So what is your view? Do you think it's...
So when we actually moved with a ban on single-use disposable plastic 3 years ago, there was a whole new industry that has popped up in terms of compostable plastic, in terms of alternatives to plastic and single-use disposable plastic. The recycling industry is something much larger than just plastic because everything we do today is use and throw. If we can start recycling it, reusing it, that is a lifestyle change we need to bring into ourselves, inculcate within ourselves. I'll give you one story which gives me great hope, and that is the story of Mumbai. I keep telling this to everyone because this is a true story. Again, in the year 2017, the High Court came down very heavily on us and said that currently, back then, collection of garbage, unsegregated in Mumbai, daily waste, was 10,000 metric tons a day. So they said by 2020, you would probably have 14 or 15,000 metric tons a day. What are you going to do about it? So the current Chief Secretary was the Municipal Commissioner back then, Shri Ajoy Mehta. So Mehta Sahab, me, the mayor, all of us had a discussion and we said, let's try to segregate waste and let's try to bring this habit into Mumbaikars. We started off with schools, we started off with colleges, we started off with bulk generators, housing societies, restaurant associations, hotel associations, and we said, anyone generating beyond 100 kgs, we won't pick up your waste unless and until you segregate it. Society started doing it, ALM started doing it, NGOs started doing it, bulk generators started doing it. I wouldn't say we've reached a 100% mark in that. But only within these 3 years, we've reduced our daily waste collection from 10,000 metric tons a day to 7,500 metric tons a day. I think this is a movement that we need to run in each and every part of not just Maharashtra, but across the country, because essentially we need to realize the amount of waste we are generating every single day and multiply that with the population that we have in our country and then the consumption habits we have in our country. If we start better managing our own consumption and then our waste, I think that is a habit we need to start from school, because in today's generation, I've seen so many school kids go back and tell our, my co-ministers or bureaucrats in the office saying, don't use plastic, don't do this, don't throw this here, don't throw that there. So I think the whole mentality has to come from schools. This change in lifestyle has to come from schools.
Okay, change in lifestyle from schools. So there are 3 questions and you've got 3 minutes. So maybe, so Pratap is asked over here, what is your view and thinking on electric vehicles? In brief.
I think that is the most brilliant question, because it's something I'm going to hold a conference for with the energy sector, electric mobility sector, and environment department. This was one key in my mind since 2013, because I'd first seen electric buses while traveling in London. I said, if they can have it, why not Mumbai? And 2015, we were the first city to have 6 electric buses before FAME 1 and FAME 2 running in our city, before the policy was made by the center. You could see a couple of them, they run here in the Fort Ferry. So the one with that green electricity mark is 100% electric bus. Now the thing in that is, as I moved further, started talking with different companies working in this sector, be it all the companies that are really producing electric mobility, some of them I can see here. I realized that electric mobility is not just the end of it. We have to create an ecosystem of electric mobility. Of course, charging was slower, then we've got much better technology now. The range has become better now. We've moved to about 170 kilometers, 300 kilometers. Speed is about 150 to 200 kilometers. But the crux of this is, we cannot be burning fossil fuel or coal on one side and creating electricity and supplying that electricity to electric mobility and calling it clean energy. We need to move into a zone where we're creating an ecosystem where we have solarized the highways, where we have renewable energy, be it wind or solar, supporting our charging stations, and those charging stations are really supporting our electric mobility. That is when we will reach a clean fuel state. So that is what my next priority is. We need to give incentives to electric mobility and for renewable energy, which has been a sector that is so grey in Maharashtra. That is the first priority to work on.
Great, there's a lot of potential there. There's a short and sweet question by Uday Mathur. By when will you start water-based transport to places like Elephanta Caves?
Yeah,
by
so
when? He's asking.
I'm really happy that the Supreme Court has scrapped our, what is that called?
That overwhelming.
The gondola ride to Elephanta, not gondola, what is that? Cable car. Yes, the cable car ride to Elephanta, because people around the world, and especially across India, come to Mumbai for the ocean, the Arabian Sea, and we've become so neutral to it that we've started going over it, and we don't realize how important it is to our tourism and to our environment. Be it Alibag, be it Elephanta, we're starting Ro-Ro boats very, very soon. Water transport will get a boost after the Ro-Ros, and along with the coastal road, we're creating a couple of jetties along the whole western coast. Otherwise, we would have to dredge the whole area. We're taking advantage of that non-dredged area, making a coastal road. You would have jetties, and then you can really start off with that. So another 3 years probably.
3 years. No session in CII is complete without a question from Madhur Bajaj. So I'm going to ask, that's a rule, so I kept the best for the last. So I was wondering why he hasn't asked a question. So now, if he asks, that means the session is successful.
The session is over.
The session is successful also.
Okay.
So he's asking a very simple question. I'm paraphrasing it. When are there any plans to give tourist sites to private sector to operate?
Yes. I mean, be it the service sector, be it the private, be it also tourism. I believe the private sector plays a big role, because as government, we cannot be running businesses, especially in tourism. We cannot be running hotels or restaurants. We are enablers. For example, when 24/7 policy came in, there was a slight criticism from the media back then saying, oh, nothing's running 24/7 immediately. And I said, it's not a festival. It's a lifestyle change. We as government shouldn't be running establishments. We are policy enablers. We have to let people do their business, not interfere in business, and we have to let people be. I think as enablers, it is our duty to make you comfortable and bring in private players so that we can bring quality and reduce the workload of the government and let the government focus on governance. So I think that is a key idea for me.
Look,
Yes, please.
I was talking about monuments, which till now the government has not trusted the private sector with. We can invest money. Tourists want experience. They just don't want. Gandhiji was born here. That doesn't interest them.
Create the experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and
in
that
this,
is what we can do.
Exactly. In this, there's a little thin line that we have to, walk on, a tightrope that we have to walk on in Maharashtra, because most of our tourist sites, like for example, forts or, Mani Bhavan, these are places which are sacred places. And obviously there is always this fear of, there was this example of the Red Fort. And when the perception becomes, okay, we're selling off monuments. Now, the fact is that you are actually going to better manage those monuments than most of us. So we're trying to create an SPV where private players can come and help us manage it with the ownership remaining with the government. So I think that is the tightrope we've got to walk, but at some point we need to make everyone realize that we are keeping the sanctity of it, we're keeping its sacred place as it is, but actually better managing it.
Great. So we heard a lot of things from you. Yes? You mentioned about a government being an enabler. You mentioned that your government is going to listen. You mentioned that you want consultation in the process. You mentioned the importance of academia. You mentioned about women entrepreneurs. I think you've covered a lot of ground. I'm going to end with a session of rapid fire questions. I'm taking the liberty. First time I'm doing with a minister. So please take my call next time I call you.
Absolutely.
So these are quick answers, responses you have to give in 3 seconds.
Just trying to see what...
So quick responses, top of the hat and in 2 seconds. If you don't respond, I'll respond.
Yeah, I think that's better.
So if you become the Prime Minister of India, what is the first decision you will take?
I think if CII is saying this, I surely will become one day. And in such time when there is a clap from the audience, we've got time to think. So that makes me a smart politician out here. But 2 things. One is listen.
One is?
Listen to the people. Dusro ki man ki baat. And no, genuinely. I mean, it's a vast country and there are vastness of ideas. So listen. And 2, whatever announcements are made in the budget, to have a committee of people from different fields to see whether the announcements are actually being implemented and what is the positive or negative effect.
Okay, so yes, give him a round of applause. So our best wishes are with you. When you become, we're going to hold it for that. Huh?
Yes. So CII has endorsed me. I will tell my party chief that.
So the next question, again, hopefully a quick response. If you controlled the headlines, if you had full control of headline news, what is the headline you would like to see tomorrow morning when you wake up?
I think any good news, because there are a lot of people who are doing good work. And obviously we wake up to sad news everywhere, and it has its space. We need to learn from the bad news and the sad news and obviously realize its importance in the society. But when you wake up, you want to start off your day on a good note and get pumped about the day and work. I think good news from work will obviously help you get pumped.
So give an example. What good news would you like to see tomorrow morning? 6:30 a.m.
That we've achieved something as government. Someone's planted some few hundred trees, someone is in open...
Few hundred trees
or
sounds
someone's
good.
given
Yes.
someone jobs, someone's created a new industry.
Okay, few hundred trees sounds good to me.
Or the fact that today we're launching our BMC school. We've tied up with ICSE. We're the first municipal school in the country to tie up with ICSE and bring that board to teach BMC's kids for free.
Okay,
so
great.
we're launching the website today for admissions. That'll be good news, yeah.
So that will probably... So, I mean, this is a long question, but I want a quick response.
Another good news would be CII has endorsed me for Prime Minister.
Well, you have to give a round of applause for that. That's it. So if you were to go back in time, you're a young man, I know, but if you were to still go back in time, what would you
I
have
would
done
be a baby back then.
What would you have done differently, let's say 10 years back if you were to...
I don't know. I mean, it's something I would look at when I'm 39 and not 29. Right now, if I go 10 years back, I would be 19. I would still be in college, so probably gone for a better movie than the movie I watched back then.
Better movie. Maybe I'll do a plug. Come for Marathi theatre. I
Yes.
support Marathi theatre. Yeah. Next question is, in the past, there has been an aspiration for Mumbai to become Shanghai. There's always comparison. Not your party, but there was.
Yeah.
What is your aspiration for Mumbai? What
I
one
don't-
word, one city?
I don't think we should compare our city to any other city in the world, because each and every city, each and every region has its own speciality. And we have multiple flaws. We have a lot of things that can go haywire, and that happens awfully in every other city in the world. But there is something that attracts people to Mumbai. I think that spirit of Mumbai and that whole vibe of Mumbai is something that keeps us all stuck to the city and not move anywhere else. So yes, obviously the minor and major flaws, we can keep moving ahead. The aspiration for me personally would be a time when everyone says there are no flaws, which is obviously not a practical thing. It's a very utopian thing. But the fact that they will say, okay, there are these flaws, but I still love my city than any other city in the world, that is the aspiration personally for me.
I love Mumbai. Is that what
Yes.
you want every Mumbaiker to say, right?
Yeah.
What is the one word you would like people here and outside to associate with your party? One word.
My party.
Your party, yes.
No,
you
no,
say
they should say my party.
They should say my party.
That sense of ownership. And like I said, when we start listening
Oh,
to people.
I didn't get you. Sorry.
So, I mean, exactly, the habit of ownership, of feeling that governments would listen to us is going away. And
Sure.
that sense of, okay, this is my government, be it a farmer, be it a bus conductor, be it a policeman, be it a businessman, every strata of society should be able to say, okay, this is my government.
My government, my party. Great. I think it's a great response. Fantastic. Last two rapid fire, then we'll let you go. In one word, what is the advice you'd like to give the business community here? What is...
Keep advising me.
Keep advising. And the last one, it's not there. So you are in a triple jeopardy. You are the third generation politician. Your party has a legacy. You're a young man. And you're a minister. All of this, is it a burden or an opportunity?
I think it's the biggest opportunity because obviously, thankfully there have been no comparisons, but even if I'm compared to, I'd be compared to my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my father. I think I'll be luckier in that sense because not many people are compared to them in terms of that. But majorly, I think there's a thing that you can take from each of them. And of course, my grandmother, my mother, all of them, I think there's a lot of things we can take from and every other family in the world. So for me, I see it as an opportunity. I don't really think of this lineage when I'm working because we've never really been made to feel that way. So apart from my mother slightly being not very happy that I'm also getting into politics 10 years ago, but she's like, your father's into it, grandfather's into it, how many people? But yeah, the fact is that I don't really see that burden as a burden. It's not a burden. It's something that I can really take forward. And I see so many people, so many other family friends, so many people look up to me, giving me advice, meeting me with great warmth and care. I think that is an advantage, of course.
So an opportunity is what I hear. So great. I think we hope to see a lot of changes in your ministry, in environment and tourism. And of course, protocol, you gave a very different color to it. We hadn't thought of it that way.
Thank you.
And overall, it's been very interesting. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please give him a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.